All right, free radicals, welcome back to the Radical Independent. My name is Dave, and this interview with Bernie Sanders that Joe Rogan did, this interview, and much like the one he did with Tulsi Gabbard, I don't think Bernie was on for as long as Tulsi was on. Bernie Sanders, during this interview, was able to explain himself in a way that, I'm sorry, if you're on the left or on the right, I know people on the right a lot of times have a knee-jerk reaction to Bernie Sanders. He's a socialist. He's not a socialist, okay? I know people think he's a socialist. In this interview, he talks about guns, how he's for the Second Amendment. Okay, but like most Americans right now, even gun owners probably are thinking to themselves, okay, we got to do a better job screening these gun applicants, the people that are applying to have weapons, and gun show loopholes, and you buy guns at a gun show and then you sell them to criminal elements and so forth. This interview, if you want to look at it as humanizing Bernie Sanders to some degree, because, again, my knock on Bernie at times is that he comes off as the cranky old man and the guy who's on the front lawn yelling at the kids to get off the lawn. It's a real popular analogy these days regarding Bernie. Right now, the video, you can't see it out of the screen here, but it's got 8,800,000 views and climbing rapidly. Let me see. This video dropped on August 6th, so it's about 10 days old. And this video, I bet you this video is going to hit, this video might hit like 50 million views. It might hit 100 million views at some point. This is probably one of the best interviews, and this is the way, by the way, the news media ought to conduct itself when it sits down with somebody. They don't sit down in a hostile way with someone. They sit down as an honest, sincere broker. In other words, hi, you're Bernie Sanders. Hi, I'm a news person. Hi, I want to know about you. Let's talk about what you believe. Let me throw some, play devil's advocate here with you, but let me do it in a way which doesn't make me look like a bad person, like I'm trying to antagonize you. This is why people are running away from outlets like TYT and CNN and Fox News, because they all come across as, okay, I'm up here and you're down there, and my job is to knock you off of your pedestal. Okay, you think you're on a pedestal. No, your job as the news person is to bring me news and information. And the fact that Joe Rogan can sit down with anybody and ask what I would call civil, polite, but important questions. I'll tell you what, an hour and 7 minutes, this was some of the best information that you could learn about a candidate running for president. And by the way, one of my complaints about progressives is at times they're lunatics. And I mean that. I'm not taking that back. There are ways of speaking to one another. There's discourse where they're always talking about the mean people on the right. Well, Bernie, only toward the very end of the interview where he calls Trump dumb and stupid regarding climate change, and he's kind of got a right to do that at a certain point. I mean, like I said, a lot of conservatives for the last 20 or 30 years have been told there's no climate change, and they might cite one sort of outlier study to prove that it's not a trend and so forth, but anybody who's been in tune with the weather the last few years has got to be looking and going outside and saying to themselves, something's not quite right here. And it's not because they want to see, and the other argument is they want to do this command and control where they take over the economy. No, they can sense that we need to transition away from what we've been doing in order to hopefully save the planet. Now, I know that from somebody who was a supposed staunch, I don't think I was ever a staunch conservative, but I was in the camp. I was in the skeptics camp. But let me get back to the substance of this interview. So we learned during this interview, and I want to play this clip here, that Bernie Sanders has a really good plan to address student loan debt and the cost of education. Let's listen to this, because this, to me, was a game-changing moment in this interview, which made me feel confident that if, say, Tulsi Gabbard, for some reason, can't get to the top of the pile of candidates, that I'll support Bernie Sanders, and I'm pretty secure in that now. So let me play this clip here.
It is insane to me to deny working class people and lower income people the opportunity to get that education because the cost of college has soared. So all that I say is that 100 plus years ago, the American people said that we should have free public education. I went to a public school. My parents didn't pay a nickel. Went to kindergarten. I went through the 12th grade. Pretty good education in Brooklyn, New York. All that I'm saying is the world has changed, and a high school degree is not good enough anymore. So expand that concept through college. Now, guess what? 50 years ago, do you know how much the University of California, a very great university, cost in terms of tuition?
How much?
Virtually free.
What's it now?
I don't know, but it's pretty high. It is high. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. So you had great universities like the University of California, City University of New York, state colleges all over this country, where tuition was virtually free. And then what happened, for a variety of political reasons, states and the federal government started cutting back on higher education and put more and more burden on the student with higher and higher tuition, which is where we are today. So all that I'm saying is in the year 2019, 2020, if our working class kids are going to go out and get the jobs that are out there, they need a higher education, which should be tuition free. In terms of the cancellation of debt, which is my view, you got 45 million people who are dealing with debt. I'll never forget this. This is where it really hit me.
All right. Now, this is the part of the interview where he's going to talk about people who have these enormous student loan debts. By the way, my wife is one of those people. Full disclosure. So, yeah. Do I bring bias to this? A little bit, yeah. There's a certain level of duping that goes on here, though. And Bernie's going to talk about that. And then, the big question all the time, how are you going to pay for it? Bernie Sanders has a great way to pay for it. And this is something he needs to talk about more. So let's listen in.
I was in Burlington, Vermont, and I had a meeting on an issue. And a young woman comes up and she says, she's a doctor. She graduated medical school. She's very happy. She's practicing in a community health center, loves what she's doing. She said, Bernie, I got to tell you, though, I am $300,000 in debt for having gone to medical school. I couldn't believe it. I was in Iowa, a young woman, $400,000 in debt. This is not unusual for medical schools and dental schools. And, ordinary people, $50,000, $100,000 for going to college or getting a master's degree. We promised these young people, we said, go to college, go out and get an education, you'll get decent paying jobs. Well, the answer is they have not been able to do that. So what we have proposed in one piece of legislation, or two actually, is to make public colleges and universities tuition free, cancel all student debt in this country. That will cost $2.2 trillion, a lot of money, over a 10-year period. We do this through a tax on Wall Street speculation, which will bring in $2.4 trillion.
Oh, and to me, I have no... See, I don't care if you're on the left or the right. You put a tax on Wall Street speculation, and it brings in $2.4 trillion. Amen, Bernie.
We bailed out Wall Street 11 years ago. And by the way, these are crooks on Wall Street who engaged in illegal behavior. Taxpayers, against my vote, bailed them out. If we can bail out Wall Street, you know what? We can cancel student debt and provide public colleges and universities tuition free.
All right, there you go. There you go. Bernie wins my vote. Okay, I'm not saying I'm switching from Tulsi to Bernie right now, but what I'm saying is, at the end of this, if Bernie's up there and it's Bernie, Biden, Warren, whoever they elevate up the ladder right now, it's Elizabeth Warren, but I think Warren is taking support more from Joe Biden than she is from Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, to me, has a plan, and it's a good plan. Let me scroll down a little bit. I wanted to show you. Now, I wrote this on here, and I don't typically make a lot of comments on videos. I said, say what you want about Sanders. He is amazingly sharp and informed at his age. Look how sharp he is compared to Joe Biden. Wow. Okay, he is very sincere about helping working class people. This comment below mine completely is a game changer in politics. All right? As a business owner, I thought Sanders wanted to put me out of business, give all my profits to the poor for doing nothing. Everything said here would help my business immensely. I can't even imagine how great it would be to not have to worry about health care for employees. Boom. Also, think of it from employees who no longer have to pay premiums and have the premiums taken out of their paycheck every week. They would be getting a huge pay raise. He writes, I'll happily pay more in taxes to not have that burden. I'll also be able to compete with larger corporations who can afford better benefits right now. It makes me sick now knowing how misinformed the media keeps us. This could be one of the best comments I've ever read. It's got 7.7 thousand likes. I say it every year, but I'm really not going to watch mainstream media anymore. Amen to that, too. So to me, this interview is a game changer. It's a game changer interview. And you got to thank Joe Rogan and also Bernie's campaign for smartly sending him on this show. Joe Rogan, people make fun of him. Oh, it's for, I heard one article probably addressing the fact that Tulsi Gabbard went on there. And they're like, yeah, Tulsi really, it's good that she's doing well with the stoner bros. Okay, yeah, whatever you want to talk about, any way you can disparage somebody for going on Joe Rogan. 8.8 million views and climbing rapidly, people. 10 days old. This is a guy with 6 million subscribers, and the video's got 8 million. So people are coming from all over because they understand that Joe Rogan does a better interview, gets better information than anybody in network television right now. Anybody. Okay? I don't even know why TYT has a channel when you've got this. And you're saying, well, they're just all politics, Dave. Joe Rogan talks about a lot of things. Yeah, he does. And that's what makes it more credible when a guy like Sanders comes on and Rogan isn't acting like a hostile actor toward him. He's giving him questions that these aren't softball questions, by the way. They talk about drugs. And Bernie actually comes off as kind of being anti-drug, which sort of surprised me. He's okay with legalizing the stuff, but I kind of like the fact that he's like, I tried, because that's my experience with pot in college was, I smoked it a little bit. I was like, burned my eyes, made me cough, made me wheeze. I'm allergic to a lot of different things. So I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. I mean, it's fine for if it's it's what you do, but it's not my thing. And Sanders actually comes off as somebody who's like just trying to be healthy. It's just not my thing. So you kind of learn some things. You learn that he's okay with the Second Amendment. You learn that he cares about his kids and his grandkids and everybody else's future. And that type of forward thinking is so contrary right now to Donald Trump's winning at all costs right now mentality. I mean, this is why you're hearing about recession, and it could be because the media wants to throw it in there to throw a wrench at Trump, but just so Biden can win, no thanks. This is the guy I'd vote for. I'd vote for Bernie Sanders. I'm still a Tulsi guy 100%, but, for some reason, if Tulsi doesn't make it, Bernie Sanders all the way. And I hope he continues to poll well. I know he's doing very well in New Hampshire and very well in Iowa. And after this interview, more people need to see this interview. That's why I actually did a video about the interview. So there you go. From the radical independent to your eyes and ears, Bernie Sanders. It's an hour and 7 minutes. It doesn't waste your time. This is a great interview. And again, kudos to Joe Rogan and his team for bringing Bernie Sanders on, because this could help this guy win the election. It really could. All right. See you soon.